Oh, what happened? Why is this Wi-Fi? Okay. Hey, Titi. So glad you can join me tonight. No music as usual. No, not usual. We always have music. Okay. Welcome to Back to Back Marriage Soapbox. Okay, so I know you usually see two people, but today it's only me because, well, hubby worked a heavy day today, and so he's like really exhausted and just doesn't have the energy for tonight. But that's okay because the show must go on. So I am here. I couldn't find the link. Okay. Hi, Ruthie. How are you? Okay, but I'm glad you found the Facebook page, Titi. So anyway, I'm glad you ladies are on. Hopefully we'll get more people who will notice that I'm on. In the meantime, yes, I am late, so I'm really sorry. I was trying to set up stuff by myself, but it is what it is. So I won't take up too much of your time. Tonight is something that a lot of us deal with in marriages. And like I said, Sergio, usually he's here, but he had a really hectic day and just really doesn't have the energy to come on. He's like not feeling well. It was really stressful. And so we know it can be really bad. Ruthie, I know you've had a stressful week as well. Yeah, see, beyond tired. Exactly. So, I'm going to try and make this not too late since I'm already late. So I'll try to be on time. But anyway, so it's just me. So tonight is a discussion that, oftentimes, I don't think ever married couples confess. And that is, are we in love with our mate every single waking moment of the day? Or are we just loving them because they're our husband or wife or father of our children or mother of our children? Because sometimes that can happen. You can be married, right? And you may not feel like you're in love every single day because you're going through the routines, right? All of us have one. It's hard to say we don't, but I don't know anybody who doesn't have a routine. I think we all have a routine that we follow every single day to some degree. Do we try to change that up? Yes. Should we try to change that up? Of course we should, because you don't want your marriage to become so, for the lack of a better word, blasé and no spice. You're supposed to be working on that spice aspect, right? But there are situations, there are things that can cause us to go from being in love to just loving that person. There's infidelity, there's abuse, there's emotional situations, there's resentment for whatever reason, that causes you to just love the person. Why? Because you're not connecting with them on a level that you need to be on them with. So there was a point a few years ago when Sergio and I, we were like just looking at our relationship, right? And so we were thinking, or at least I was thinking, that, okay, yeah, I don't feel like I'm in love, but I know I love him because he's the father of my daughter and because we've been together for so long that I love him. Of course I love him. There's no question about it. But do I feel like I'm in love with him? At that point, no. I wasn't feeling quite in love. So how do you pick that out? How can you tell the difference? Because there's a big difference, okay? So let's go over that. The difference between, so the first part is being in love, right? When you're in love, you're passionate about that person. They're on your mind 24/7. You can't stop thinking about them. You daydream about the things you want to do, or accomplish things. You have goals you want to set. You're excited about doing things with them. You want to share your environment with them. You want to connect with them, like I said before, deeper. You don't want to just stay at a specific level. You want to get like really deep. I'm not talking about Velcro, but you can be Velcro. You have each other's back no matter what, right? Like, so even if one of you did something wrong, you don't care because you have each other's back. That's what you do. They are your end all be all, right? They're the person of your dreams. So wouldn't you do whatever you could for that person? Oftentimes, we don't always marry the person of our dreams as we claim, right? We end up settling for something else, and that something else doesn't always quite end up where we want it to. So that first part, not including the last bit, but that first part is pretty much being in love with somebody. You want to be transparent with them. You want to just do things with them. You're always asking what they think and what they want, and how you both can do things together. And it's just like sitting on the sofa watching TV. All you want to do is just like cuddle up with them and watch a movie, because you just can't imagine yourself sitting next to them and not cuddling, right? So just loving your spouse, right? Well, you have a respect for them because you love them, and you respect them because you love them. You care about them. You're concerned about what happens to them. Does that mean you're going to take a bullet? That's the $1 million question, right? Because if you were in love with them, you would do whatever you could for them. But when you just love them and you're not in love with them, yeah, you might think twice about that. See, nobody wants to talk about that, but that's exactly how some of us are feeling. Okay, so then the other thing is you're not as attracted to them as you should be. Okay, so like when you're in love with them, you cannot wait to be with them. You cannot, you're dreaming about all the things you want to do to like please them, and you start daydreaming. It's the truth, okay? But when you just love them, yeah, you might not be thinking about that 24/7. You may not be as excited as you could be if you were in love with them. I'm not saying that tomorrow you're going to just love your spouse and therefore there's going to be trouble in paradise. No, I'm not saying that. But if that goes on for a certain amount of time, then there's something that needs to be checked. Okay, so like I said before, you love this person because they're your spouse, because they're the child, because they're the parent of the child that both of you share. You also love them because you've been in a relationship with them for the longest. You guys have been through so much with each other. So you love them. There's sort of an obligation there when you're in your relationship with them, and that, Ruthie, I know you're not married, but something to notice when you are married, because you may not be currently married, but you were married at one point, and you've been in a relationship to know the difference. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. There's a difference of being in love with somebody or just loving the person you're with. Okay, and so then too, the last one is when you love somebody, when you just love your partner, or even like if you just love your ex, right? So there's a certain extent that you'll go to, and others you won't. But that's if they're your ex. Now imagine if they're the person you're with that you married and you're not in love with them at that moment, right? There may be some conditions there that will prevent you from being in love with them or loving them unconditionally. So now there's conditional things that go with that. And so you're either holding it against them, or you have some resentment, or there's some unresolved issues that the two of you have not spoken about. And so those are things that, need to be worked on. So how do you go from being a person who's maybe in love once upon a time and got to the playing field of just loving their spouse? Well, one thing that Sergio and I noticed when we thought about this a few years ago was that we both took a real good look at our relationship, and we discovered, yeah, we were just loving each other at that point. We had somehow fallen out of love with each other because of all the things that we had gone through, whatever resentment that we were holding against each other for whatever reason. And yes, there was resentment on both sides. And we realized, we were like, okay, what are we doing here? Because, you just loving somebody just because, that shouldn't be enough, because all you're doing is like having a fake relationship. You're not having something that's really meaningful. I love my mother, but I don't live with her. I don't have that kind of relationship with her, right? You can love your brother, your siblings. You can love a friend from work, or your best friend. He may be of the opposite sex, or she may be of the opposite sex, but that doesn't mean that you love them in an in-love kind of way. It just means you love them for who they are, for who they've been in your life. And there's a limit there. But when you're in love with somebody, yes, it will, resentment and unsolved issues does kill a relationship. And that goes for anybody, whether you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, your husband, wife. If they're unresolved, it's going to definitely be that weed that doesn't grow. That's not killed off that easy. Until you attack it and get rid of it. And that's a key point in trying to understand that once you've established where you are at that moment, you've got to work towards getting back to that in love moment. You've got to talk it out. You've got to work it out. People often think that marriage and relationships are like everything that is on TV. No, sorry, this is not 50 Shades of Grey. There's not 50 Shades of Marriage. You would like it to be 50 Shades. And you can, but you get that when you're in love. When you just love, you're not going to have 50. You may have 10 Shades of Grey. So I'm just telling the truth and shaming the devil. Yeah, so, like I said, Sergio and I, we definitely got, and we were just like deciding like, okay, am I in love with you, or am I just loving you because? And we found out, yeah, that we were just loving each other just because. And so, that was like, okay, we have to change that. We have to alter that. And one way to do that, obviously, is to acknowledge where you're at, and then make that communication open and open freely. You got to be able to lay it out on the table, what you're dealing with, so that you can crush it and it doesn't come back to bite you later on. Right? And then start spending that time with each other. I did mention, yes, your relationship is going to go through seasons, right? We've got what? Winter, spring, summer, and fall. So in a winter season, yes, you may not feel that, close connection. You may not feel that in love moment, but that is a temporary situation. When you just love somebody, that is for a longer term than just the season, right? So there's understanding that. Am I in a winter season, or do I really just loving this person? And if so, I've got to examine that so that I can understand where to make the changes, so that I understand that once winter is over, because spring is around the corner, then I should be starting to those feelings of love and being in love should be returning, right? So when they don't return, that's when you're like, okay, I've got to check this out and make sure that what I'm doing is contributing to this relationship, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, right? Because that is what is involved in a relationship. It is physical, it is mental, it is emotional. Wait, what did I say? Yeah, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And so when you got all those lined up, then your relationship is better. So anyway, that was what I wanted to talk about tonight. The differences, because oftentimes we're in relationships and we really don't capture the difference. And, like my aunt had mentioned, when you have resentment and when you have unresolved issues, what happens is that leads to a crack in the system, and next thing you know, that little crack grows to a big one, and now you've separated completely. And then you get into the I just love you because zone, and that's not where you want to be. You want to be in a place where you are in love. Are you going to constantly feel that? That depends. That depends on you and your partner, because I know there are some people out there who feel it every day. They're in love with their spouse every single day. They adore them. They treasure them. They respect them. They value them. That is what being in love is. That value, that adoring, that treasure, because you just want to be with them. But when you just love somebody, it's not the same. And so, it's hard to understand that or see that when you're going through it every single day. You can get into this routine and forget your spouse. You can tend to forget. We're supposed to have a relationship here. The other big mistake too, and I didn't agree with this at first, but now I'm on the other side and I understand. When you're married and you have children, you cannot put your children above your marriage. And I will tell you why. When you put your children in between your marriage, you cause a division between you and your spouse, because you are putting the children first. I'm not saying to deny your children. What I'm saying is, when mommy and daddy are on the same team, when mommy and daddy are communicating and they're affectionate towards each other and they're loving each other, you will be surprised the security, the validation, and the stability that you bring your child. If you start paying attention too much overly towards your child, then you neglect your spouse. And see, those of us who have children who are of the age of 18 and older know you still got to face that spouse when your children are gone, right? So what do you do then? Was it all about the children and not about your relationship? You can't forget your relationship when you have kids. You can't. And I didn't know that years ago, and I wish I did, because I would have been a better parent if I had done that. And I know some of us often can make those kinds of mistakes where, oh my God, it's all about the kid. And, I can't deal with you right now. No, you got to make time still. While you're dealing with the children, don't forget to make time for your spouse. Don't forget to have that continual relationship with your spouse. Make time to go on a date. Have grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, cousin, best friend of the family, extended family, have a chance to take care of that baby or that young child, of course, approved, while you go out on a date. Spend some time with your spouse. Or, like I've told others, if you don't have a babysitter, when that baby goes to sleep, it is all about you and them. Take some time to make sure that you are giving your partner the time that they are due to have, so that your relationship stays fresh. It keeps you all together, as opposed to division, because you went and focused on the baby so much. And not to say that the baby doesn't need, attention. The baby does need attention. But when the baby's sleeping and you've got that monitor on, go take care of your spouse. Go take care of them. Go deal with them. Get you some alone time. Some alone time, because you're going to need it. It not only does it help keep your sanity because you're dealing with somebody who's on the same level as you, it helps to keep you grounded. It's emotionally better for you when you and your spouse are working together as a team and still having that time to be husband and wife. That enriches not only your relationship, but it enriches your family's relationship. So definitely take some time to get some one-on-one. Anybody got questions? Anybody want to say anything? I don't want to just, be all the talky, because, it's just me and you now. But yeah, so that is what tonight was all about, to really just look at what, being in love versus loving someone, what that is and how to recognize it. And then once you recognize it, of course, being able to fix it if you see that there's a warning, a red flag, or something that needs to be adjusted, then you've got to make the adjustments. If your marriage is worth that, then you need to make the adjustment. And so you should. And even in a relationship, because see, the relationship that you have somebody prior to marriage is going to give you a preview of what the relationship is going to be after you're married. So if you ain't getting nothing in your relationship, or you're getting some in your relationship, or your relationship has a lot of issues and you need to fix that before you get married, don't wait till you're married to fix them, because it's not going to work. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're just going to enter your relationship with a lot of frustration and a lot of problems that you needed to fix prior to. And when you give yourself enough time to do that, then you can do it. Everybody's so in a rush to get married. Please take your time. Take your time. Don't rush stuff, because all you're going to end up doing is making the wrong decision. And that is what happens in a lot of relationships and marriages, is that the person made the wrong decision because they were so in love with the idea of being in love that when it took real work for the marriage, for the relationship, then it was like, okay, somebody decided to bail. No. Marriage takes work. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, and sometimes it's just downright frustrating. And I'm just being transparent. It's sometimes downright frustrating. I've been with my husband for, I think we are now 30 together, maybe a little more, 31, 32 together. We've been since, 89? So, yeah, let's see. I cannot add. I cannot add. I'm trying to add here. Here we go. Here's a calculator. I was trying to find the calculator. So, let's see. We are at 2021 minus 1989 equals 32 years. 32 years we've been together, and we've been through a lot. And again, it's like there are some days, maybe some weeks, you might just love them for whatever reason. Usually when you just love them, it's always attached to something that happened. When you're in love with them, there's nothing. There's no strings attached, no nothing. And you have to see what the Bible says too. The Bible speaks about love pretty much not having any strings. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't cause anger. It's not bitter. It's not resentful. That's not what love is. So that alone should tell you that. Okay, Ruthie, bye. there's just some things that you have to look at and decide what you plan to do with them. Talk it out with your spouse. That's what I say. Talk it out. Know where you both stand on the subject. Come to some kind of agreement, and then take it from there. There's always a little give and take. It's not, oh, it's my way and the highway and like that's it. No, you have to have some give and take in the relationship. You have to be able to work together and to come to some form of an agreement with what you're willing to do. Even if it's something where you think that I just refuse. What have we said before on the show? Don't respond in anger. Don't resolve issues and try to resolve issues in anger, because you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to listen to what they want to say or what is important to them. You're just going to want to say what you want to say, and that's it. That's not talking. That's just venting and getting your anger out. You gotta work it out and listen. Is everybody perfect at it? No. There are days when Sergio and I get it right, and then there are days Sergio and I don't get it right. But it's a constant learning situation. That's what marriage is. It's a constant learning situation. We're both getting older, right? So there's things at our age that we didn't know when we were 20, that we didn't know when we were 30. And I'm not saying the rest. But, there are things that you learn along the way that, you didn't know at 50, 60, 70, 80, that you didn't know back then, right? So you've got to be able to go with the punches and be able to duck when you need to, pick your battles when you need to, come to agreements when you need to, understand. But, without communication, I would say communication is like the 80% of the relationship, and everything else is just 20. That's what I would say. Other people would probably have a different percentage rate, but it really doesn't matter, because communication is one of the most important things in a marriage, in any relationship that you have, whether it's with of the opposite sex and your intentions are becoming more than friends, or even with just friends. Communication is what is needed. So anyway, that's all for tonight. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. So sorry that Sergio couldn't be here tonight, but like I said, it does happen. The guy does still work full time, and today was just a really stressful day. So I told him to take it easy, that I would take the helm. But so yeah, I want to let you guys off early. Look at that. I think we were like on here for about a half hour. Oh my gosh. So hopefully we'll see you guys next week. I don't know what we'll be talking to next week, but I hope this was a blessing to you, and I hope you guys got something out of it, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Titi, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate you coming on and joining me on the show. So I hope to see you next week as well. On Thursday, meet us here live on Facebook and on YouTube. We look forward to talking to you, and hopefully, God willing, Sergio will be there too, as well. Bye, and have a great night.